Okay, so my strategy that I have decided to use is collaborative writing. So what it is the idea behind it is that students work together to write, plan, edit, and revise. This can be done with partners or small groups. So how is it done? A teacher can split students into predetermined groups or partners. The students spend time providing positive feedback to each other. They also can show where editing or revision can be used. They can bounce ideas off of each other and they can work together to plan and brainstorm. Some classrooms require explicit instruction on teachers' expectations. When I did this with my students, I needed to get very explicit in what I wanted them to do and what I needed them to do so that they stayed on task, and B were able to help each other in a way that was beneficial to each other. The standards that I found that could match with it come from the Common Core standards, and I found writing for fourth grade standard 5, as well as writing for fifth grade standard 5. I used this lesson specifically with fourth and fifth graders in a small group setting of special education, and that is why I found those standards. That standard is with guidance and support from peers and adults, develop and strengthen writing as needed by planning, revisiting, and editing. A few digital applications could be done in many different ways. One way that I did it is I used a Google document that each of the students had access to. They each had their own Google Doc that they were able to type into. I chose that as a easier way for them to be able to get their thoughts onto the paper without having to worry about spelling mistakes and me having to tell them how to spell every other word. Therefore, they were able to easily get their ideas on paper and talk and enjoy each other's ideas. There are lots of other ways that you could do it. That is just one way I did it because I liked that they could add comments uh, to each other's writing, and they could really have the opportunity to see what each other are doing. It's intended for classrooms with students fourth grade and up. When I was reading through the article, it said you could do third grade, but because of the focus for the writing and the collaborativeness, you need a little bit more teacher modeling in order for them to be able to stay on task and know what they are doing. So, like I said, I use this with fourth and fifth graders. Very accessible for seventh grade and up from there. Um, I have included the article information in APA style down below. Um, my sample lesson that I used it for is I was teaching my students about fairy tales, and I had began the lesson with a small group of, as I said before, fourth and fifth graders who were in my special education class. When I gave the lesson, I began by activating their background knowledge about fairy tales and the main parts of a fairy tale for the sake of this lesson. The four parts of a fairy tale are character, settings, and problem and solution. I use this to help simplify the format for my students and gave it a way for them to easily be able to create their own character, setting, problem, and solution for their fairy tale. We began by talking about what it means to brainstorm. We watched a short video that explains that brainstorming is thinking about things that you like, do, and enjoy. The video then made a short list of ideas. After the video, we talked about making our own small group list. We compared the ideas in the video to what we could add. I started the list with modeling ideas. I wrote the word dog on the list and explained that I like dogs and I wanted to add it to the list so that I could write about it later if I wanted to. Then we went around and the students would bounce ideas off of each other, and I wrote ideas on the list on the board. The students wrote a few of the ideas in the notebook on their Chromebooks that they have access to in a Google Doc that they all had access to as well. With and one student talked about how he liked Batman. Another student liked that idea, wrote it on their own list, and the same happened when a child talked about wanting to write about ice cream, and another one went, "Ooh, I want to do that as well." So once this pattern began to happen, I watched the students were collaborating about their own writing ideas. without my help, and this helped make my lesson more student-centered and student-led, which is a good improvement for this group of students. We ended the lesson when the students began to slow down and were asking if they could begin writing about their stories. I let them begin working and thinking together about their ideas that they were writing. So what I found is that it was very helpful for my students to be able to talk things out, and especially with each other. Um, this can be done in the whole group as partners. This can be done in small group section. I really enjoyed the small group because it gave my students a much safer way for them to work together without having to feel too much pressure of individual work. Thank you for listening to my uh, my strategy sharing for collaborative writing. I hope that you find this useful and are able to use this in your own classroom.